Welcome to the Wednesday stream. I hope everyone's having an awesome Wednesday. Welcome, everybody. Sorry about that, folks. Let me make sure I got everything going. All right. Derry Bennett, Nikki Haley has dropped out of the race. Indeed, we have lots to talk about with regards to the primary. I mean, like, all in all, it's basically done at this point. Let me just make sure I got everything going. Will Trump drop out? No, he's the last one standing. He's not going to drop out. It's over. It is done. Eric, how's it going? Heat, how's it going? I hate when this happens. Jump in chat and then have to bail. Mod duties. Oh, shoot. That's all good. I completely understand. Really good. I'm hanging in there. See, this time I didn't forget the music, okay? I got my music. I got my sparkling water. We're good. I think we're ready to start. Echo Resto Dragon, welcome, welcome, welcome. Folks, before we get started, the usual announcements. If you enjoy the content and enjoy your stay, don't forget to, give us a follow, okay? It really does help us out. If you're on the YouTube, thank you for liking the stream. Consider subscribing, sharing, all that awesome stuff. It really does help us out. And join the Discord, okay? There's lots of cool people in the Discord. And we do monthly movie nights. We do monthly movie nights, so if you're interested and want to join or just want to hang out or just want to use the Discord as a notification center to get updates on the channel, you can do so. Wow, the Twitch team is way behind the YouTube one. Really? I always thought the YouTube one was the one that was behind a little bit, like lagging, but I guess not. I guess not. Also, if you want to support the channel and you want to support the channel while wearing some cool merch, you can check that out as well. Cosmic Seeking, welcome. It is Wednesday indeed. Okay, lots of stuff to talk about, so I think we should just get started, right? Yeah, I think so. Let's go, indeed. All right, let's start. Folks, it's not getting any better. It's not, okay? This increasingly outward or open, increasingly more open and more brazen authoritarian movement isn't getting any better.
Donald Trump loves to talk about election interference. He loves to tell us the Democrats are out there registering all these undocumented immigrants to vote in this year's election.
Yeah, again, things that never happened, by the way.
Which, of course, is not a thing that has happened. But he likes to say that Democrats are the ones who, of course, steal elections.
True.
Meanwhile, according to a new report, his allies and Trump supporting...
Yeah, so every accusation is just a confession. Yeah, verbatim, right? Yeah. Didn't see this video, by the way. You can see the progress bar. Haven't seen it. Yeah, it's a classic. Every accusation is just a confession. They accuse the Democratic Party of stealing the election when it's, in fact, they themselves the ones engaging in this behavior.
Supporting activists in swing states across the country are actively trying to steal the 2024 election for him. In the states of Michigan, Nevada, and Georgia, according to a new report from the New York Times, Trump-supporting activists have challenged thousands upon thousands of names on their state's voter rolls. So what's happening in those swing states is that there is currently a purge of voters from those voting rolls because of these right-wing Trump lovers challenging the eligibility of these people to be on the ballot.
Yeah, and make no mistake, this is on purpose, right? This is exactly what Farron is saying. The purpose of this is to attempt to affect the outcome, specifically with these important swing states. That is the purpose. So that being said, now knowing this, okay, now knowing how these people act and what these people's plan is, guys, if you do plan to go vote, okay, and there are reasons to show up at the ballot box, okay, not just the presidential election. There are reasons to vote for local candidates, for representatives, depending on who's running in what state and what district. There may be ballot initiatives that are certainly worth looking at to protect reproductive rights. So there's definitely reasons to go be at the ballot box. Make sure to check your registration. Okay, make sure to check your registration. Do not let these people take away your voice. I'd countersue for violating my rights to free expression. I mean, like, there should be some type of class action suit in a just and rational world. That's what should be happening. But unfortunately, I think they're using they're using the legal system to challenge people's eligibility to vote. So yeah, cool. Nice. Good stuff happening. So that being said, make sure you check your registration just in case, make sure everything is good. So if there's no issue, don't let these people take away your voice. Pay attention, folks. There's still time. There's still time to make sure that you have your ducks in a row. There's still plenty of time before November to make sure. Check your registration. Check to make sure that all the information on your registration is good. Just double check.
Here's how this scheme works. And let me go ahead and point out the fact that this has been going on with Republicans, typically in Republican-controlled states, for 20 years now.
Yeah, the difference is that these are now, the states that are being specifically targeted are swing states. On that note, sorry, welcome Bipedal Meatbag. Hope you're doing all right.
I remember ahead of the 2004 election, so 20 years ago, we were talking about this happening in Pennsylvania and Ohio, as well as the state of Florida in the George Bush versus John Kerry election. Those states were controlled by Republicans. They were purging people from the voter rolls, and the actions haven't changed. The criteria for kicking somebody off the voting rolls in these 20 years that I have now been covering this has not changed. And here is how this very simple scheme works. These activists find somebody's name. Say it's a common name, right? John Smith. And then they look at arrest records. And they say, oh, well, look at this. John Smith was in jail. Therefore, Secretary of State, Michigan, Georgia, Nevada, Florida, wherever you are, you got a John Smith on the voting rolls here, but John Smith's a convicted felon and he can't vote, so you got to take John Smith off. But instead of going through and finding that John Smith, what they do is they say, well, we got 40 John Smiths here, so they all got to go. And if they're eligible voters, they'll reach back out to us when they're denied their right to vote, and then we'll fix it. If they don't say anything, then we'll assume we were correct in purging these people. And it doesn't have to be a convicted felon, because some states do allow convicted felons.
Yeah, so like that whole process is completely back asswards, right? It should be the other way around. It should be you, the burden of proof should be on you to show that these people are ineligible to vote before their right to vote is removed. In fact, like Bipedal Meatbag said, I would argue that this is borderline, this is borderline unconstitutional. So the local clerk's office purges all of the John Smiths when one is being challenged. Correct. on the basis of like he just made an example, right? Like it's not a real example, but it's how they operate or how the process works. They say John Smith was a convicted felon back in whenever, so he doesn't need to be on these rolls. So the state then says, well, we got to take all of them because we don't know which John Smith you're talking about. In my state, they don't require you to be registered to vote at all. I mean, like, you know, the fact that you're already in the society by default, in my opinion, should give you some right to vote, right? Like, for example, even if you are a resident, you should be able to vote at least in like the local elections, right? Because that's what locally affects you. But yeah,
felons after they've served their time to come back and vote. So they'll say, hey, Jane Doe here is dead, but she's still on your voting roll. Okay, well, there's 20 Jane Does, but we'll purge them all, and then they'll get back to us. Either we'll send them a letter letting them know that their eligibility has been challenged, or we won't. Because that's the other side of it. Sometimes they don't tell these people they've been purged off the voting rolls. These people show up to the polls to go and vote, as is their right, only to find out, oh no, sorry, your eligibility was challenged, so you've got to fill out a provisional ballot. You can fill out your provisional ballot, we'll go ahead, we'll put it over here on the side, and in the meantime, you have to contact the state and correct all your voter stuff.
that's wild. Like, that should never, ever, 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 ever be the process. That's absurd. It should be backwards, okay? If you want to take away somebody's right to vote, you need to provide an evidence. Like, for example, in that in that scenario, if you see Jane Doe and you believe that Jane Doe is dead, then you probably should provide the evidence that Jane Doe is dead, like, I don't know, a death certificate or something. Like, the burden of proof should be on you to provide the documents showing why this person needs to be removed, why you are challenging this person's eligibility to vote, right? And then and only then should they launch an investigation and double check to make sure that is true. It should be incredibly difficult for a person that is not you to challenge your eligibility to vote. That's just like ridiculous. That's absurd. The fact that that's how that works in these states is wild to me. Yeah, something taxation without representation. And lots of tea. Yeah, it's insanity. It's absolute insanity. Like, the fact that, you know, again, it's not new. It's not new. But the fact that that's how this operates is wild. And tea sounds good. Yeah, tea is pretty good. I'll say that.
And if they don't do that, that provisional ballot doesn't go into the tabulator, it goes into the garbage. So they're creating, these Trump supporters in these vital swing states are creating hassles and hurdles for these voters that they don't know how to clear. The instructions on how to do that are not clear. The time it takes to do it is not always available to these people. But this is what they're doing. This is what the New York Times is warning us about. And this is, unfortunately, a very legal form of voter suppression and election interference at the hands of the Trump people.
That's wild. That's wild. That's wild. Like, there has to be there has to be some kind of challenge to this, because this doesn't sound constitutional, right? I mean, it's just absurd. All right, folks, switching gears. In a very normal and very hinged response, take a look at this congressperson, this elected U.S. congressperson. And yeah, they found the gray area, exactly. Kamala was put in charge of this in 2020. Whoops. Oof. Yikes. This is the kind of competence that's scary. Yep. So, here we have a U.S. elected congressperson. You know, let's... I don't even need to introduce this video. I think it'll speak for itself.
You can tell the Palestinians I will never support them.
Why do you support the genocide and all of the war crimes and collective punishment? Are you concerned about all the children?
Let me make it clear. Let me make it clear. Israel is our ally. Will always be our ally.
Even if they commit war crimes?
And they are not guilty of genocide. And I will support Israel forever.
This is a U.S. congressperson, by the way. A U.S. congressperson.
Israel will stay your ally, even though they commit
Israel
genocide.
Will be
even
that's
that.
your term.
Even
Can
when
you
they
explain?
kill,
That is your term.
even when they kill 30,000
What
kids,
they
that is a
did to the
statistic.
Israeli
That's a
people
statistic.
on October. Let me tell you a statistic.
Yeah, please.
Israel will exist. The Jewish state will exist.
That's not a
It will
statistic.
always exist,
That's not what we're...
and that is for
That
God
has absolutely
to do
nothing to do with
That is, yeah, see, this is incredibly dangerous. This is why religion and government should never, ever, 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 ever intersect. Because like this is where this guy's coming from, right? Like this religious extremism, is somehow twisting and warping, this dude's point of view to the point where he is comfortable and outright just saying like, I don't think you guys understand. I can't see anything else but the protection of Israel. And as a U.S. congressperson, I will do everything. I will do everything to make sure congressionally that Israel will get what it needs. Don't put up with the genocide nonsense. Yep. Neither will I. Go fuck yourself. But their constituents like this. Yes, that's true. That's true. Like you, just another Twitch Lord, you can unequivocally go fuck yourself. How about that? So, anyways, yeah, disgusting, but religious extremism can warp and twist a person's worldview to the point of justifying ethnic cleansing. It is wild, and you're right. There are a lot of constituents who vote and support this. That's true. Whether or not they think that this is what they're supporting, it is indeed what they are supporting. They are supporting ethnic cleansing. And again, this is a U.S. congressperson saying this.
We're saying,
And I will
you are a
always support
supporter of
Israel.
genocide, sir. You're
I will
supporting
always
the murder
support
of
Israel,
little children.
and you can tell the Palestinians I will
I
never
am a
support
Palestinian
them.
myself.
Then I will tell you,
say
I
it
will
to my
never
face.
support you.
Yeah?
I will tell you to your
And
face.
you want my cousins
Goodbye
to
to
die.
Palestine. Goodbye
to
to support
Goodbye to
Israel.
Palestine.
Goodbye
You want
to
to watch
Palestine.
Palestine?
Yeah, so goodbye to Palestine. So another way of putting it is like, yeah, I'm comfortable with like the eradication of this group of people. That's another way to interpret that unambiguously. Essentially, what he's saying is this group of people, like goodbye. This group of people just needs to be wiped off the face of the earth. That's what he's saying. Sharpie Diesel.
We will support Israel forever.
So you are comfortable.
always
So just
support Israel.
FYI, this guy just said goodbye
Always
to
support
Palestine.
Yes.
Israel.
So you just said goodbye to Palestine. So you are
Goodbye.
saying you are comfortable with the murder of thousands of children.
He is. As long as like the religious extremism, because like I caught that right there at the beginning. As long as like that religious zealotry, I think that's how you word it, exists. It doesn't matter. It could be a million dead children. It doesn't matter to this person because he doesn't see them as humans. Yeah, very Christ-like of him.
The Jewish people will never
You are
suffer
not
again
answering the question.
under Palestinian terrorism, under Hamas, under Hezbollah.
What about
Israel will be secure
30,000
forever.
innocent
God bless
civilians?
Israel forever.
Thank
You
you
want
for
to wipe Palestine off the earth, yeah?
God
Yes?
bless
Yeah.
Israel forever.
Yeah, cool. Very normal, very hinged. Very normal, very hinged stuff going on here in the by the U.S. congressman. Cool. Very nice. Very cool. I thought genocidal maniacs were supposed to be smooth, slick propagandists. What happened? Yeah, well, they don't need to be. They don't need to be. This is perfectly acceptable discourse, which is pretty disturbing. This is perfectly acceptable discourse. That's why, there doesn't need to be any attempt to sugarcoat it. There doesn't need to be an attempt to just try to put a thin veneer on it. It's just like, this is not the first time, nor the first congressperson. I believe we saw another video the other day where the dude's like, yeah, Palestine should just be completely gone. All of them. All of them. We saw a video, I want to say like months ago, like a month ago, 2 months ago, I don't remember, where it was like a state legislator, I think it was a state congressperson from Florida saying that the same thing, just to eliminate them all. This is acceptable discourse. That's disturbing. That's pretty concerning. That is incredibly concerning, where acceptable discourse is like outright calling for or accepting or supporting or aiding and abetting ethnic cleansing. If it's not outright, if it's not outright being called for, it's acceptable. It's defended. We're in a new era, that's for sure. Time for mask off and competing to be the most despicable. Yeah. And it gets better, don't worry. We got more stories. We got more stories. We got more stories. I'll get my popcorn. Meet Sam Parker, a dude who attempted to run for U.S. Senate in Utah for the Republican Party. Just outright posting Nazi shit. Another Republican being caught just outright posting Nazi shit. So, yeah. Tell me again how this is not a Nazi party at this point, right? This is an anti-Semitic. By the way, this is an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory. where the Nazis pushed the idea that apparently slavery was caused by Jewish people. So yeah. This is straight up just Nazi propaganda. This is just straight up Nazi shit. This is not up for debate. Like this is the type of shit you would see on 4chan. Okay, this is the type of shit you would see on 4chan. And yeah. It's no surprise. It's no surprise. Leave Taylor alone. No, apparently she's under the control of Jewish people, you know. Because get it? Jewish people control everything from the media to the banks to everything. Yeah. And of course he's reposting this video with the little Israeli flag. Just let them talk and they inevitably expose themselves. I believe one of the people filming is Jewish. So yeah. Cool. Very nice. Very nice. Very normal and very hinged, the Republican Party, huh? And this is getting more and more and more and more normalized in the Republican Party. We'll get back to that idea in down the line. So put a little pin in that, because we're going to be traveling back to that concept that the Republican Party is becoming more and more and more open, accepting, or at least coddling, if you want to be as generous as possible, at least coddling Nazis. Just straight up Nazi shit. But to set up that story, as you guys may know, Super Tuesday was last night, and well, before we even get to some of these articles, not surprising. It appears that effectively, for all intents and purposes, the primary is over. The primaries are done. For all intents and purposes, the primaries are over. As it should be, to the surprise of nobody, the candidates are basically going to be Trump and Biden. Okay, like the candidates are going to be Trump and Biden. That's all but assured, unless some act of God, some act of God is happens. It can be reasonably accepted now that it's basically it's going to be Trump and Biden, right? We all saw this coming, or we should have seen this coming. The polls are very clear. The polls are very clear, and there is no doubt in my mind. There is no way. There is no way that any Republican candidate was going to catch up to Trump. No, the base, the cult, I should say, is not going to accept any substitute. There was just no way. As far as the Democratic side, there was no real, there's no serious challengers. None of them seemed like they would put up a good challenge to Biden, and it seems like It seems like it's over at this point. Like Jenk says, of course! Dean Phillips dropped out and endorsed the butcher. Yes, so Dean Phillips dropped out. Jenk... How many votes did Jenk actually get? Did he even make... Did he even make like 1,000 votes? Did he even manage to get 1,000 votes? Because like I saw the last thing I was able to check, he had like a couple hundred votes. Yeah. So yeah, Jenk's not gonna go anywhere. Jenk has a book to sell. Marianne Williamson didn't even get close. Dean Phillips didn't even get close. Both of them dropped out. Yeah, doubtful. I watched an interesting video from Kyle Kalinske today about Harris distancing herself quietly from Biden's decision in Israel. Yeah, I think she even called for whatever it's worth. For whatever it's worth. She attempted to say the words ceasefire. Now what that actually means is like a temporary pause and the genocide can continue afterwards, but it doesn't matter. Unfortunately, it's not enough, right? It's good, and I hope that something in there somewhere is poking at her moral compass to turn to make the about face. I'm not knocking her for it, okay? Something somewhere, hopefully, is causing her moral compass to the extent that these politicians have one. To at least make the gears turn and say like, man, this is not right. I did see that, so but they'll say but she tried. Yeah, well, it's not good enough, and she doesn't really have the decision-making power. She doesn't have the decision-making power. She could pressure Biden. That's the only thing that she could do. She could pressure Biden into making the right choice. She could make a PR, a PR campaign to try to pressure Biden. But I don't know. I'm not a Harris fan, but if she did a 180 on the Gaza genocide, I might be interested in hearing more. Like, I would, if, months ago, before all this happened, if you were to tell me to make a choice between Biden and Harris, I wouldn't know. But, like, I actually would lean more towards Kamala Harris than I would Biden at this point. Accepting the fact that these would be the only two choices, right? Under the hypothetical where there are only two choices, whether it be Biden or Harris, I would actually probably choose Harris. In this day and age, which is very, very odd. It's a very odd position to find myself in, but here we are at this point, and that's what they want us to do. Yeah. If Biden stepped down and Kamala would be the nominee, it would be more likely for me to support a Harris candidacy for president, than it would be a Biden candidacy for president. I hope that makes sense. Conscious Canuck. Man, what times? So that being said, the Super Tuesday election happened. To the surprise of nobody, the primary is effectively over, okay? Trump and Biden are basically going to be the nominees. A few hours ago, Nikki Haley announced that she will end her presidency, her run for presidency. Nikki Haley ends White House bid, clearing the path for the Trump-Biden rematch. Nikki Haley ended her long-shot challenge to Republican presidential frontrunner Donald Trump on Wednesday, today ensuring that the former president will be the party's nominee in the rematch with Democratic President Joe Biden in November's election. Haley, the former South Carolina governor and Trump ambassador to the UN, bowed out after a day after Super Tuesday when Trump beat her soundly in 14 of the 15 Republican-nominated contests. Quote, "The time has now come to suspend my campaign. I have no regrets." She said it was likely Trump, who repeatedly belittled her candidacy, would be the Republican nominee, but did not endorse him. It is now up to Donald Trump to earn the votes of those in our party and beyond it who did not support him. She said, and I hope he does that. Drawing on her foreign policy experience at the UN, Haley said it was important to continue U.S. global leadership, ? Throughout her campaign, Haley said the U.S. must help Ukraine defend itself against Russia, a position which is at odds with Trump. If we retreat further, there will be more war, not less. Trump did capture the endorsement on Wednesday, today, which just happened, by the way, of Turtle Man Mitch McConnell, the longtime Senate Republican leader who some party hardliners considered insufficiently allied with the former president. They mean the fascist. It should come as no surprise that as the nominee, he will have my support, who is stepping down as leader. There's no indication Trump would moderate his message. Why would he? Just as Haley was conceding the race, he criticized her before inviting her supporters to join him. Quote, "Nikki Haley got trounced last night in record-setting fashion," he wrote on Truth Social. In contrast, Biden praised Haley for daring to speak truth about Trump and extended his own invitation to her supporters. Donald Trump made it clear he doesn't want Nikki Haley supporters. "I want to be clear, there's a place for them in my campaign." Nikki Haley is not a good person, okay? Like, I don't understand what this... bro, focus on the people that are gonna come out and vote for you, dude, okay? Right now, your base, in these hyper-partisan times... Right now, your base is not very happy and is threatening to stay home. Okay? These Republicans are not going to vote for you, dude. They're not. If you want my opinion, and this is just an opinion, the majority of these people, at least a significant amount of these people, are going to vote for Trump anyways. Okay? And those that don't, that they're truly never Trumpers, those that are truly never Trumpers are just going to stay home. The amount of people from this voting bloc that would actually switch sides in this hyper-partisan landscape is very, very little compared to the people who are your actual voting base, your voting base, who is threatening to stay home, is way bigger. You need to earn those people's votes, and you need to start working on that yesterday, months ago. And you know what you have to do. The Biden campaign isn't flying blind here, okay? The Biden campaign knows exactly what's going on. Maggot Food, welcome. He's over-focused on reaching across the aisle to the detriment of our side. Yeah, and to the detriment of everybody. I think both parties have disgruntled voters, but I think Donnie has more. I don't know. I don't know. That's a really, really unnecessary risk to gamble. When literally you have fascism knocking on the door. Okay, you've got a literal fascist party, knocking on the door, and like I don't think that the Democratic Party's strategy should be like, well, hopefully there's more. Hopefully there's enough. There's enough never Trumpers and the anti-Trump vote to carry us through, right? That is a unnecessary risk when you can just activate your base by giving a positive campaign. So not banking on negative partisanship, but banking on good policy and policy that your base actually wants, right? It's a clear sign that only corporate brainwash voters are wanted because they never ask for anything. It's the best voter. That's the best kind of voter. On Wednesday today, Trump reiterated his willingness to debate Biden in a post on Truth Social. Oh man, it looks like we might have debates then. The Biden campaign did not respond to a request for comment. Debates are typically held after the party's nomination convention in July and August, respectively. Trump refused to participate in any of the debates held during the Republican nomination fight. Haley lasted longer than any other Republican challenger to Trump, but never posed any serious threat to the former president, whose iron grip on the party's base remains firm despite multiple criminal indictments. And that's it, right? Like, it may be the case that Trump's base isn't really expanding, but it's pretty loyal. Trump has always said he wants to debate Biden. Oh, okay, then maybe I'm misremembering. Or maybe I'm just confusing the statements with regards to the primaries. Because I remember specifically something about him not wanting to participate or him not thinking it's, I don't know, maybe it was just only in reference to the primary. The rematch between Trump, 77, and Biden, 81, the first repeat U.S. presidential contest since 1956, is one that few Americans want. Opinion polls show both Biden and Trump have low approval ratings among voters. The election promises to be deeply divisive in a country already riven by political polarization. Biden has cast Trump as an existential danger to democratic principles, while Trump has sought to relitigate his false claims that he won in 2020. Oh, man. This is good stuff. Good stuff. We have Biden, Joe. We have Joe Brandon, saying that Trump is an existential danger to democratic principles. True. So, in order to defeat him, I'm going to try to run to the right. Donnie's begging for money from Musk while the repo man is knocking on his door. And yet, his base, his cult, remains loyal. And yet, his cult remains loyal. Haley drew support from deep-pocketed donors intent on stopping Trump from winning a third consecutive Republican presidential nomination, particularly after she notched a series of strong performances at Republican debates that Trump skipped. She ultimately failed to pry loose enough conservative voters. That was never going to happen. But her stronger showing among moderate Republicans and independents highlighted how Trump's scorched earth style of politics could make him vulnerable in the November 5th election against Biden. Maybe. Imagine Trump showing up to take the oath of office in in the finest wooden barrel suit. I saw someone muse on that on Blue Sky. As in 2020, the race is likely coming down to a handful of swing states thanks to the winner-takes-all state-by-state electoral college system that determines the presidential election. Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin are all expected to be closely contested in November. The central issues of the campaign have already come into focus. Despite low unemployment, a red-hot stock market, and easing inflation, voters experienced post-pandemic inflation have voiced dissatisfaction with Biden on the economy. Biden's other major weakness is the state of the U.S.-Mexico border when surge of migrants overwhelmed the system after Biden eased some trade policies. That's not an accurate interpretation of that. That's not an accurate interpretation of that. They're making it seem like Biden's easing of like one or two policies somehow resulted in the surge of migrants. That's not, I don't think that's very honest. Trump's hawkish stance on immigration, including a promise to initiate the largest deportation effort in history, is at the core of his campaign, just as it was in 2016, even though Biden has deported more people than Trump. Biden is currently, or was pushing, Biden was pushing an incredibly far-right bill on immigration. So this is also a bit misleading because Trump isn't the only hawk, isn't the only immigration hawk. Biden's actually got the receipts for being incredibly right wing on immigration. The numbers show it. My crystal ball was broken in 2016. Next few months will be interesting. Yeah, well, I can tell you that it's not looking good. It's not good. Not looking good. Not looking great. Right now, the election. Right now, the election is a coin toss, and it is pretty even in terms of numbers. But what we have seen is Biden's Biden's approval is continuing to go on a downward trajectory, and while polls are still very, very 50-50, Trump has been trickling upwards, and Biden isn't gaining any ground in terms of the polls, right? In terms of the numbers. So that's not good. That spells usually a very, 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 very poor outcome. Voters expect Trump would do a better job on both the economy and immigration, even though historically Republicans are terrible at the economy. And historically, just look at the last two administrations. Just look at the last two Democratic administrations have been incredibly right-wing when it comes to immigration. So this is also silly that people really have this impression when the reality is not the case. Trump may be dogged by criminal charges throughout the year. The federal case charging him with trying to overturn the election, perhaps the weightiest he faces, has been paused while he pursues a long-shot argument that he is immune from prosecution. Biden has said Trump poses a threat to democracy, citing the January 6th insurrection on the Capitol by a mob of Trump supporters seeking to reverse Biden's 2020 victory. Yes, but you need to act like it, right? Like Trump posing a threat to democracy coming from the person who's currently funding genocide, who's currently arm in arm with an incredibly authoritarian leader doesn't inspire a whole lot of confidence that you actually care about democracy. Abortion too will play a role in the after the 9-member Supreme Court, buoyed by 3 Trump appointees, eliminated the nationwide right to terminate pregnancies in 2022. The subject has become a political liability for Republicans, helping Democrats exceed expectations in the midterm elections. Haley had been among the first Republican contenders to enter the race in February of 2023, but she only garnered attention after her standout debate performances later in the year. Through it all, she was reluctant to completely disavow her former boss. Trump showed no reticence, frequently insulting her intelligence and Indian heritage. No surprise. Only in the last 3 months of her campaign did Haley begin to forcefully hit back at Trump, questioning his mental acuity, calling him a liar, and saying that he was too afraid to debate her. Still, she said that as president, she would pardon Trump if you were convicted in criminal. Cool. So at the end of the day, like, fundamentally, you actually are not any different, right? Fundamentally, like, you actually don't care about any of this stuff. You don't care that he tried to overturn the election. You don't care that he has any small disagreements with you. You're willing to pardon him. Yeah. A position she has never abandoned. So, like, yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Nice meme. Anyways, all in all is just to say that Nikki Haley is out. There's no other contender at this time. Trump is the nominee, effectively, for all intents and purposes, unless an act of God happens. It's going to be Trump. The same goes for Biden. Dean Phillips dropped out. And I'm sorry, did Marianne Williamson suspend her campaign again? Because, like, I saw that she unsuspended it. But, like, I don't know, I don't know if it really even means anything, which has been the case for about 4 years. Yep. I don't know if that even means anything. So yeah, for all intents and purposes, this primary is done. The Supreme Court is broken. I agree. She's still in, I think. Yeah, I don't know. That the last thing I remember is that she unsuspended her campaign, but I don't know if that I don't know if that even matters, to be honest. Pretty much everyone else has dropped out. It's over, essentially. That being said, there are some notable stories that came out of this. There are some notable stories that came out of this. Uncommitted racks more than 45K in Minnesota Democratic primary. Why is this ad? Okay, thank you. More than 45,000 Democratic primary voters in Minnesota selected uncommitted on their primary ballots this year, surpassing the support for longshot Democratic challenger Dean Phillips in his home state. Like, that's pretty big, okay? With 80% of the votes reported early on Wednesday morning, uncommitted had received 45,871 votes, 18.9% of the total, according to the Hill Decision Desk election result tracker. President Biden won that primary with 170,890 votes, or 70.6% of the vote reported as of Wednesday morning. Phillips came in third place in his own state with 18,969, or 7.8%. Womp womp. Marianne Williamson, who briefly suspended her campaign but rejoined the race last week. Okay, so yeah, she's in for some reason. Still, got 1.4%, followed by Jason Palmer, who, I'm sorry, who? Okay. Who? Who received 0.3% of the vote. Congratulations to Biden, Uncommitted, Marianne Williamson, and Nikki Haley for demonstrating more appeal to Democratic Party loyalists than me, Philip wrote in a statement posted to X last night, adding, and Jason Palmer. The uncommitted vote comes amid a wave of urgency among progressive Americans who are pushing for primary voters to cast their ballots as uncommitted rather than the incumbent Joe Biden. While uncommitted protest votes have been typical in past primaries in some states, activists hope this year the protest vote would send a message to Biden on their frustration with his policy around the Israel and its ethnic cleansing in Gaza. The uncommitted vote proved strong in other primary races on Super Tuesday as well. In North Carolina, with more than 99%, we'll get to North Carolina in a second. Biden received 87.3% of the primary vote, followed by no preference with 12.7% of the vote. In Massachusetts, with more than 99% of the vote reported, the president led with 82.9% of the vote, followed by 9.4% of no preference. By the way, things, it doesn't seem like much. 9 point whatever percentage, 12%. But that's enough. That's enough to swing a state. That's enough to torpedo a state. I thought Nikki Haley did very well in the primaries, and she will go again in 4 years' time. I hope not. She's disgusting. She's an absolute ghoul. Uncommitted got 13% here. Nice. I imagine this is it right here. Last week, Michigan, more than 100,000. Oh no, wait, that was Michigan. More than 100,000 Democratic primary voters cast ballots for uncommitted, accounting for 13.2% of the total vote. In a statement on Minnesota uncommitted vote, a Biden campaign spokesman said the president believes making your voice heard and participating in our democracy is fundamental to who we are as Americans. So what are you going to do to fix that, dude? Okay. If you North Carolina, got it. Nice. Congratulations. What is your opinion on Ron DeSantis? Disgusting. Fascist. I hope you know that that's going to be a theme going with any Republicans, right? That's kind of a theme. North Carolina, 10%, Michigan, 15, Minnesota, 10, 35 electoral votes could be lost in 2020. Biden had 306, minus 35 is 271. A candidate needs 270 to win. Biden is already in severe danger of losing that general election. We haven't even seen the primary results from more than half the country. Yeah. I agree. So it may not look like much, but it freaking is. You're right, Ace Fram. You're right. It may not look like much, but it is. And if Biden truly believes in making, and truly believes in participating in democracy, the whole point of a democracy, right, is that you do what the people, you do what the people who voted you in for. You do the things that the people want, right? If a bunch of people are angry because you are doing X, and you say, well, I believe in democracy. Well, a bunch of people are telling you to stop doing X. You should probably stop doing X, right? Yeah, and it's only happening because of the genocide, correct? This isn't hard, okay? This is it isn't even hard to parse out the issue here. And make no mistake about it, I find it very hard to believe that the Biden campaign hasn't made this calculation. I find it very hard to believe that the Biden campaign isn't aware of this, right? Are you a Biden supporter? No. I support causes, not politicians. Correct. He shares he shares the goal for an end to violence, and just like lasting peace in the Middle East, he's working tirelessly to that end. Bro. Ceasefire. You don't need to dance around words, my dude. They know this. They know this. They know they have to know. I mean, like, it is inconceivable for me that the Biden campaign isn't aware of this. Isn't aware how dire the situation is. And how these uncommitted votes are showing just how close it really is that Biden is in very real danger. Should he decide to not, should he decide to continue course, that he is in very real danger of losing the general election. So that's interesting story number one that came out of this Super Tuesday. They think they can go for the Nimrata peeps. Yeah, which is ludicrous. Which is ludicrous because, like, that's not going to happen. Okay, like that strategy is not going to happen. How many people, consider, first of all, let's consider Nikki Haley's actual base. How much is that? Hey, someone stole my username. How much support does Nikki Haley actually have? Question number one. Question number two, how many of those supporters are so disillusioned with Trump, so disillusioned with the Republican Party that they would actually switch votes? Now compare that to the massive amount of people on the Democratic base, on the actual Democratic base, who are threatening to stay home. With the leaders of Hamas and Israel leading their people down a hopeless path, I find it near impossible to deal with. This is Israel's, the ball's on Israel's court, okay? There's absolutely, no debate on that. The ball is on Israel's court. They're the ones that are doing the ethnic cleansing. And they're the ones who can stop this. We, as the United States, have a moral obligation to tell them to stop. And if Netanyahu's government does not want to stop, then we need to cut them off. Period. Full stop. Zero questions about it. Right. Republicans wind up pulling together in the end. Exactly. How many people do you honestly believe, are going to genuinely switch from Nikki Haley's support to Biden? There's I can probably count the number of people that is actually going to happen with one palm. Okay, I know I'm being exaggerating. I'm being facetious, but the point being is that that's a losing strategy. That's a losing strategy. You're not. This is that's absurd. If that's the Democratic Party's strategy, they're going to lose. They are going to lose. They are going to lose. If they think that they're somehow going to win, the two Nikki Haley supporters, balanced upon the literal, just in one state, hundreds of thousands, and tens of thousands and thousands of people in different swing states that could literally throw the election off for you. But yeah, that's infuriating to think that that's the strategy. Knowing the fact that this is the issue, that's torpedoing this whole thing. Um, but yeah, if fewer than the amount of staying home at this rate. Yep. Hey, Mouse Thunder, how's it going? Yeah, absolutely. The people that are threatening to stay home over this issue, or at the very least, like the people who are threatening to not vote for Biden over this issue, because I actually don't advocate for staying home. There are things on the ballot to show up for. Absolutely, do not stay home. There are things, I'm sure. Look at your ballot, look at your state, look at your sample ballot. Look what's going to be on there. Look at the what are they called? Not constitutional amendments. The ballot initiatives that may be on the board. Look at who is running for representative for state and federal. Like there are reasons. So I'm not advocating for people to stay home. Do not stay home, because I'm sure that there are things that you can vote down ballot for. Absolutely. But the point is the same. I see a similar progressive have independently come to the same conclusion as me. I feel less crazy. What, that like Biden has the ability to lose, or Biden is going to lose, or it is a real scenario that Biden loses. Yeah, I think so. I think it is a very real possibility, unless he changes course, and even then it might not be enough. But do you think Biden would toughen his stance against Israel? His poll numbers would increase? Yes. Yes, the people who are angry with him right now would be less angry. Yes. His base, the people who actually will come out and vote for him, that are angry over this and are showing him with like actual, like literal facts, numbers, that he will lose if he does not change course. He will lose. Yes, he would be less likely to be in danger than he is right now. Does that make sense? Because if you correct the issue that people are angry with you about, then it is more likely that you will have a more successful result. I hope I worded that right. I don't know. Hope that made sense. Like, if people are angry, at you over X, and you stop doing X, then chances are people will be less angry at you. Like, I don't know. It just seems like simple. It's so simple. So yeah, it turns out that supporting ethnic cleansing is gets people angry. It turns out that people aren't very supportive of genocide. Most people. And maybe if you stop doing that, you will make them less angry. I don't understand why progressives are so rare. We constantly predict the future correctly, repeatedly over long periods of time. Why aren't there more people joining us? I don't know. Do you think uncommitted Biden voters will vote for Trump or stay home? They will not vote for Trump. They will. It will be more likely that they will stay home than it is for them to switch sides. Like, that's not happening. This is a hyper-partisan landscape that we're looking at. The chances of an actual Biden voter that is angry with Biden over this switching sides to Trump makes absolutely no sense. The chances of that is incredibly low, very, very low. I just don't see that happening in a statistically significant way. Does that make sense? Yeah, Ace, it's the Cassandra syndrome. It's the Cassandra syndrome. Biden needs to stop the killing and also not piss off the Zionists in his party. A catch-22, yes, but also the real boots on the ground people, are are the ones that are threatening your election chances, right? Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm not like as on point with the analysis, but I think that like if I was Biden, if I was the Biden campaign, the clear threat is people staying home, right? Or at the very least, not willing to vote for me, right? Like that much is incredibly clear. So I would be more worried about that than pissing off the Zionists, who are currently the threat to my election chances as me if I'm pretending to be Biden, right? Like if I'm weighing my options here, it's like, how many people am I actually going to lose? It's both. He will need Zionist votes. Whew. I don't know. It just seems like more. It just seems like more people are angry at him, and threatening to withhold the vote than there are people who are, going to be angry at him if he gets a little tougher on Israel policy. I don't know. That's the thing though. Like the shitlibs will vote for Biden no matter what. Like these people are the shitlibs will vote for Biden no matter what. Like Biden could literally start doing Trump policies, which he did, and you saw the response on Twitter. I don't know if you saw like liberal Twitter when he started rolling out freaking like the far right immigration policy, the immigration bill he was pushing. They were like, "Wow, Biden's being strong on immigration. Look, he's out Republican the Republicans. Look how strong he looks, bro." Unbelievable. So I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you're right. Someone stole my username. Maybe you're right. I have no idea. It is quite possible that I got this one wrong, but I hope I'm wrong. Because like, I don't know. I think like the shitlibs will vote for Biden no matter what. They're out here praising like him doing like some, Trumpian legislation, and they were like, cool, this shows he's strong. I don't know. Maybe. He also is probably trapped in a groupthink bubble of pro-genocide advisors. Yeah, I think so. Based on his policy. They vote for the candidate that is anointed by the DNC, which is why I think we should have a candidate that appeals to progressives, but that's just me. Right, because like in my personal opinion, I think that the liberals, like the shit libs, like the people you see on Twitter, they are all on board with whatever Biden does. So I'm not really counting them all out. Like, is it possible that some might get angry if he adopts a more pro-Israel, a more anti-Israel position, a more stronger, forceful position against Netanyahu? I mean, the amount of people that he would lose, I don't know. Like, this is what I'm talking about. Like, this is the type of stuff I'm talking about. Like, this is a classic, like, this is a classic, like, Twitter liberal, okay? Like, the quintessential, like, Twitter liberal, okay? And I'm pretty sure a lot of people may recognize this account. And look, like, bro, I follow that on Twitter too. Like, holy ish, President Biden just threw down the gauntlet and he challenged Trump to stop playing politics and join him in getting the far-right border deal approved. Cool. Nice meme. You know, the silver lining is that the silver lining on all of this is that our fascist opponents are thankfully incredibly incompetent, and they seem to be incredibly incoherent. And the silver lining is that hopefully this self-destructive path that all fascism inevitably goes through will occur a lot faster before more damage is done, if that makes sense, right? Because like fascism inherently is self-eating. Fascism implodes inevitably. It's just a matter of how much damage, is going to happen between the rise of fascism to when it inevitably just falls apart. In this case, the silver lining is that hopefully these people are so incompetent and so incoherent, and are also being a little bit too open, too fast before they have all the levers of power. They have a good, they have power, but they don't have all the levers of power. And hopefully they self-destruct before they are able to do even more serious damage. If we had UBI, we could just pay migrants to stay in their home countries, and would cost less than ICE and the border. I mean, like, to actually address immigration, like, number one, we have to come to terms. We have to come to terms with the fact that it's our fault, our foreign policy in the global south that destabilized these countries for decades, that has caused the problems in those countries that inevitably led to people wanting to flee for their lives and end up here, right? Like, first of all, we just have to come to terms with that and be honest with ourselves as a country. Number two, that means actually, we're gonna have to divert resources to try to help these countries that we destabilized. Voters are like my wife; she was looking to marry a saint. Once she found that I wasn't, it's been rough ever since. That doesn't make any sense. I suddenly realized your backdrop makes it look like you're on the Majority Report studio. Yes, it's on purpose. That gives you a hint as to where the oranges, where the oranges of the type of politics I subscribe to may come from. Yeah, how do we know he isn't true? Look at that. Does that look fake? Does that look fake? Does that look fake? Yeah, maybe they're in my studio. I like Matt Leck, but not the rest of the Majority Report. I have huge respect for Sam, and Matt also does come through with like some pretty good takes. Honestly, I like them all. Um, honestly, I like them all. But yeah, to answer to respond to your comment, yeah, that's literally the same backdrop. Um, that's literally the same backdrop. They use the exact same one. The reason why I know this is because Sam said that he got this. Sam Cedar said he got this backdrop from IKEA, and it just so happens that I found this exact same backdrop and gave it my own twist on it. I painted it. And yeah, it's literally the exact same backdrop. I like Emma too. Neat trick. Yeah. Yeah, but it's the same backdrop. Same I got it exactly in the same place. One of these days I might decide to change it. But for now it's kind of a little homage, shout out, Easter egg. I don't know what to call it. Um, a little nod. Hey, Sharpie Diesel. Theft. Some would call it theft. Yeah, salute. Oh my goodness. That reminds me of I actually made this meme. Hold on. Let me see if I could uh no, that's not it. Outright plagiarism, true. It really is. How come it doesn't want to automatic? What about this? No. No. No respect for intellectual property. Uh Whoa, hey, no, come back. You wouldn't download a car, would you? How can I make this open with? If you could just download a car to get a car, who would not? True. There we go. There it is. That's the meme I was looking for. .30 printer in every house. Star Trek replicators for everyone. Yep. This was right after the Steven Crowder incident. So yeah. That's the meme this conversation reminds me of. Very funny. I thought so. I thought that was pretty funny. I thought that was hilarious. All right. Putting the train back on the tracks. So last article about the Super Tuesday stuff. Far-right candidate see Super Tuesday win at traditional Republicans' expense. Or maybe this just is what a traditional Republican is. I don't know. Far-right candidates took notable wins in state elections in Super Tuesday, further confirming the Republican ascendancy of supporters of Trump, the probable GOP nominee for president, at the expense of more traditional conservatives. Or maybe this is just the natural conclusion of this ideology. The highest profile victory went to Mark Robinson. Hey, remember when I said to put a pin on this idea? Because I kept pointing out that the Republican Party is just a Nazi party at this point. Yeah. The highest profile victory went to Mark Robinson, the lieutenant governor of North Carolina, who will now run for governor. The Democratic candidate, Josh Stein, would be the first Jewish governor of North Carolina should he win in November. In opposition to Stein, Robinson is a Hitler-quoting anti-abortionist. I'm not kidding. This is the thing. A dedicated controversialist who once said that the superhero movie Black Panther was created by an agnostic Jew and put to film by a satanic Marxist to pull shekels out of your Jesus Christ. Like, this is literally indistinguishable from a 4chan post. Yeah, so again, with the whole, like, Jewish conspiracy, Hollywood. Nice. But the candidate may find recent remarks about his views on abortion harder to brush off as Democrats, subtle, as Democrats seek to continue a string of wins in campaigns focused on right-wing attacks on reproductive rights. Robinson has supported total abortion bans, calling abortion murder and genocide, as reported by CNN, calling the founders of Women's Health Planned Parenthood Satanists who practice witchcraft. So yeah, that's the type of person we're dealing with. The word shabarte word is Yiddish for black person, so he's super racist. Oh Jesus Christ! Well, thanks for that extra clarification. Holy yikes, Batman! The spokesperson for Robinson called Stein an extremist. I wonder why. Elsewhere in North Carolina, because he's Jewish. Yeah, subtle, very subtle racist. Elsewhere in North Carolina, 21-year-old college student affiliated with extremist Turning Point USA youth group scored a notable victory where he defeated an 85-year-old representative who has served for 20 years. White Gable beat George Cleveland in a close primary race earlier this year. Jacksonville Daily News, a local paper, asked both men what experience they had to recommend themselves to voters. Cleveland said that I have served as a budget writer since 2010 and have chaired various House committees over the past 14 years in veterans and homeland security and general government, marine resources, and agriculture. Gable said, currently in the university system and only a few years removed from the public education system, I have an up and close look at our education system. I'm also a Turning Point USA president at East Carolina. As president, I have stopped school from changing the bathrooms to allow men and women's rooms and vice versa. I've also been able to sign up for more than 1,000 new members. Like, Turning Point USA is just a far-right organization at this point. No doubt about it. I had to learn that today myself because of it. Jeez. In a U.S. primary, Tony Gonzalez, a Republican congressman from San Antonio, was headed for a runoff election against Brandon Herrera, a social media personality and gun salesman. If you don't know who this is, yeah. Last year, Gonzalez was censured by his own state party for voting in favor of same-sex marriage and gun safety reform, the latter after the massacre of 19 young children in Uvalde. Apparently that was enough to get you censured because you dared to, allow same-sex marriage, which nobody's business, certainly not the government's. 2, gun safety reform after 19 children died at the Uvalde massacre, and for being soft on immigration and border policy. And Texas State House, I'm pretty sure this is very adamant or very obvious at this point where this party is going, right? There's no such thing as a moderate Republican party. There's no such thing as a moderate Republican at this point. And you can see that by even Mitch McConnell has now bent the knee to Donald Trump. We're now having open anti-Semitic people running for governor. Anybody who goes against the dear leader gets pushed out. Anybody who's not extreme gets censured by their own party. You see where this is going? Not great. Not great. And as I showed earlier, more and more Nazi elements seem to be showing themselves. In the Texas State House, the Speaker, Dade Phelan, will contest the runoff with David Covey, a challenger endorsed by Ken Paxton, the State Attorney General Dan Patrick, the Lieutenant Governor, and Trump himself. Phelan supported Paxton's impeachment, a failed attempt to remove the Attorney General over allegations of bribery, dereliction of duty, and disregard for official duty. Paxton, who faces securities fraud trial next month, also took aim on Tuesday at 3 judges on the High Criminal Court in Texas. All Republicans, the 3 judges were part of a ruling that stopped Paxton from fast-tracking cases to support of supposed voter fraud. All 3 judges were beaten by candidates Paxton endorsed. I mean, that's super disturbing, right? So, the judges who were stopping these nonsense cases of voter fraud have now been replaced with more yes men because of how extreme and these Republicans have gotten, up until this point. This is pretty disturbing how fast or how willing to be this open, I should say. It is very sickening. And more on this North Carolina candidate. They're power seekers and line pushers. They'll keep going until there's major pushback. So to summarize, the Republican nominee for the governor who won yesterday is a literal Holocaust denier, said gay people are the end of civilization, tracks with the first one, called school shooting victims Protestants, question mark? I think he's trying to say that it's fake. Said shootings are karma for abortion, which tracks with his total ban on abortion stance. Called the civil rights movement a communist plot. Yeah, well, yeah. Cool. If that doesn't show you what the state of things are, I don't know what I don't know what will. It's a play on that's pretty disgusting. Wow. And this is, the ideology that the Democrats are playing games with. They're playing games with. This type of stuff is not a joke. It needs to be crushed. It needs to be crushed and destroyed immediately. There is no there is no negotiating with this. The reason why we find ourselves in this hyper partisan landscape is because of people like him. And the Republican Party continues to run full speed ahead on the fascism train. And it just has to stop. It has to be stopped. I would actually prefer a society that imprisons people who broadcast messages like that. I don't know if prison would be the solution. But for starters, I think that the opposition party needs to be an opposition party, right? These people don't belong. These people don't belong anywhere near power. By who, though? They paid for politicians or the paranoid, bigoted police? Yeah. There are already limits to freedom of speech. Yelling fire in a crowded place, this should be illegal too. Well, incitement for violence is illegal. And it's not like speech doesn't have consequences. It does. I know Alex Jones got hammered over his commentary. Yeah, and that's completely fair. I think that's completely fair. Dude's facing bankruptcy. Like the dude, when all of this gets said and done, dude's like done. he's gonna have nothing left, and that serves him right. I just don't know if prison is the right solution to that. I think for starters, an opposition party needs to be an opposition party. These people should not be anywhere near power. Something has gone horribly wrong that we're even in this position in the first place. Does that make sense? Something has already gone horribly wrong that we're even in this position in the first place. That open Nazis, open Holocaust deniers are finding homes in a political party and are winning elections and are winning potentially positions of power. That something has already gone horribly wrong. Our freedom of speech has no real value when it's buried under signal noise that those guys spread. Oh, I don't disagree. I don't disagree. Indeed. Indeed. The best I can say is stand in solidarity with each other and brace for impact, folks. Brace for potential impact. It took them decades of effort, and now they're reaping the reward in what is arguably history's period of greatest social-political upheaval. Yes, we shouldn't have to share bandwidth with any of them on social media, but enforcing that would require government ID centers just to register accounts plus enforcement. Right. That creates a whole host of stuff to navigate through. Yeah. Brace for impact against what I just joined. Hey, I know NOK Life. Brace for impact against a far right movement that is quite capable or quite possible winning positions of power. We just went over the North Carolina Republican nominee. I already forgot his name. The guy who just won the nomination for North Carolina. Being an open Nazi. Mark Robinson. There you go. Like North Carolina, don't do this. Well, the Republicans did. They decided that an open Holocaust denier in Marvel terms, Hydra is about to take over. Yeah, something like that. It's quite possible. But maybe it's worth it. Yeah, I don't know the logistics of how that would even work out. I'm doing everything I can to make sure he loses. Yep. That's all we can do. That's all we can do. And in the event that fails, brace for impact, folks. In the event that fails, brace for impact. You know, all this spiraled out of control once we had a black president and made gay marriage legal. I think it's before that. I'm gonna be honest on OK Live. I think it's before that. The seeds of this were done or planted a long time ago. What the heck? The seeds of this were planted a long time ago. I don't think Obama being president. Maybe it was like a turning point. But I don't think it was. I don't think. What I'm trying to say is like this. This movement was already set on course. Maybe it just accelerated it. You might be right, but I don't think it was this bad. I think Republicans got scared when a non-Marquez was president and saw that gays were allowed, right? So like there are people, and that's when people kicked into overdrive. Maybe, but yeah, the seeds for this ideology were planted a long time ago, even before Obama. I mean, like, look, didn't they have like a whole scare like in the 50s and beyond, like 50s and 60s and 70s, way before Obama even thought of being president? You know, like this kind of stuff. The seeds of this were planted a while ago. It's rooted in, you know, something as old as time itself. Figuratively speaking, concepts like white supremacy, fascistic, authoritarian, and more importantly, to add a layer of that, religious zealotry. All of that. Stacked on top of each other, not new. This is just the inevitable conclusion, right? Could you say that like maybe Obama's presidency might have accelerated a little bit? Maybe, I don't know, but this is the inevitable conclusion of this ideology, right? Imagine fighting Nazis in World War II just for your grandchild to be like this. Yep, just your grandchild to be the very same thing you were fighting. Coastal U.S. cities are sinking as sea levels continue to rise. Hey, you know, remember climate change? Yeah, that hasn't gone away, by the way, folks. You know, remember the climate crisis that is literally affecting tens of millions and billions of people? Yeah, yep, that hasn't gone away. It turns out that despite the fact that politicians may want to ignore this problem, it has not gone away. Several coastal cities around the U.S. are disappearing into the ground, according to new research, which could further exacerbate the complications of sea level rise in the near future. A considerable amount of land in 32 U.S. coastal cities could be at risk of flooding by 2050 due to subsidence, the gradual caving in or sinking of an area of land, according to a newspaper published on Wednesday in Nature. 2050, may I remind you, is not that long. It's what, maybe 26 years from now? That's not a lot of time. The continuous loss of land will affect more coastal cities, said Leonard Onanen, a PhD candidate at Virginia Tech, specializing in coastal vulnerability and large-scale land subsidence. Large cities surrounded by water such as Boston, New Orleans, San Francisco will be among these regions that could experience flooding in the near future due to land elevation changes combined with sea level rise about 4 millimeters per year. Up to 273,000 people and 171,000 properties in coastal regions around the U.S. could be impacted, according to the paper's findings. Coastal areas with higher elevation levels and lower rates of subsidence, such as the Pacific coast, are found to have lower flood threat level overall. As rolling hard 6 on Florida. For example, many parts of the mountainous terrain in San Francisco will not have flooding concerns, but the San Francisco International Airport and other parts of the city on reclaimed land are sinking into the surrounding bay. Manukar Shirais, the director of Virginia Tech's Earth Observation and Innovation Lab, told ABC News. Conversely, areas with low elevation and high rates of subsidence, such as New Orleans and other areas along the Gulf Coast, were found to have higher risk of flooding in the future. Man, all it would take is one medium strength hurricane or high strength hurricane. New Orleans, for example, is built on low-lying land with sediments of the Mississippi River, causing the entire city to subside at a rapid rate, said Shirazai, who supervised the research. Several locations surveyed on the Gulf Coast showed significant levels of sinking at rates that are equal to or greater than the current rate of global sea level rise. Biloxi, Mississippi, for example, is sinking at about 5 millimeters per year. The main driver of subsidence is groundwater extraction and compaction of sediments. Coastal subsidence is often underrepresented in flooding models, the author said. The inundation coastal regions will experience due to rising sea level may actually be worse than previously thought when factoring in how rapidly the land is sinking. However, land subsidence will be a key player in elevated flooding hazards in the next 3 decades. What will happen on land really affects us. And so if you have a land sinking on one side and rising on the other, you're going to have areas that would be inundated in the future. Nearly 40% of U.S. populations live in the coast, according to NOAA. The sinking is expected to cause structural damage to most existing properties, Onahan said, adding the paper does not even address the worst-case scenario. Cool. As climate change continues to worsen, we are going to see even more worsened effects in most coastal cities. People living in coastal regions are already grasping the significant changes. In addition, disadvantaged populations, many of which are disproportionately struggling with the inequalities of climate change, will especially face challenges due to subsidence and sea level rise. Parts of low-lying Florida, such as Miami, are already dealing with sunny day flooding, and that happens as a result of high tide. Miami showed the greatest share of exposure flooding, with up to 122,000 people and up to 81,000 properties that could be at risk of flooding by 2050. Again, that's not that far. That's 20-something years from now, 26 years. Local management policies will need to be put in place to fortify coastal infrastructure, as current hazard mitigation efforts are inadequate, the researcher said. Among solutions include installing seawalls, raising existing properties above flood level, and replenishing groundwater supplies. Land subsidence can be mitigated fairly rapidly using engineering and nature-based solutions that we already have in our toolbox. Yeah, cool. I guess my paper straw didn't do anything. Nah, I think that individual actions are still important. Just because we will never, ever able to compete with like these massive fossil fuel corporations. I don't think that like your individual actions also are not needed, if that makes sense. Gotta laugh to keep from crying. Yep, most of my family lives on Cape Cod, an island made of sand. Oof. Canada's gonna have some prime real estate after a few more decades of heating up. Yeah, at the small price of like other stuff, right? Like while it may be the case that some real estate might be opened up, y'all got like a bunch of wildfires that literally make like large swaths of areas uninhabitable, like in California. So yeah. You also have issues of water being pumped out of aquifers. Yep, which is one of the causes of this too. So cool, nice stuff. I think recycling what you should have been doing, but paper straws objectively are bad and don't do shit for the environment. It seems some MAGites on Twitter are mad at Speaker Johnson because he passed a budget with Democrats but no border bill, even though their dear leader Trump demanded Johnson to kill them. Yeah, it's incoherent. It's incoherent and incompetent. So, just to my statement originally, it's like that's the silver lining on this whole thing is that like the fascists that we are facing are eating themselves and tripping over themselves faster than anticipated. Hopefully enough to avoid even more serious damage. Fracking shattering the tectonic plates we live on. Yep. Yeah, there's no reasoning with them because there's no reason to them. But you can't reason with them because there's no reason to them. Cool. Yeah. Good stuff. Very, very, very good stuff. Everything is fine, folks. Back to brunch, everybody. Okay. on that note, we can all go back to brunch. What really pisses me off is that climate change is one of the best studied things in privately and publicly, and we all know it's real, but people make excuses so that way companies don't have to change. Yes, what's even worse is that companies changing to renewable resources will be tiny dent in their income for like 5 years, but they would make more money again staying on top. So it's not even life or death for their companies, it's just a minor inconvenience, which when it comes to money-making machines, that's a problem. You see, you're right, but there's no real incentive to stop the money printing machine that is the fossil fuel industry. Why would I stop printing billions of dollars in this industry by changing when I could just, keep printing until this machine is out of ink, and then I'll change. And by then I'll have enough to corner that market too. Just passing the carbon tax to poorer countries. Yep. So, good stuff. Awesome. Phenomenal stuff. Everything is fine. Everything is good. On that note, folks, all kidding aside, yes, it is a very serious... it is a very serious situation. Yeah, everyone have a great evening. It is a very serious situation that political leaders seem to not want to address, or they don't have the incentive to address because lobbyists and whatnot. Thanks for the chill stream. I appreciate you stopping by, Sharpie Diesel. Folks, I really do got to get going. I appreciate all of you hanging out. Thank you for your support. You guys are what makes this channel grow. Thank you for your follows, biddies, subscriptions. Thank you. For those of you on the YouTube, thank you so much for all the likes on the stream. I appreciate it. Again, if you enjoy the content, don't forget to hit the follow button. It really does help us out. Subscribe on the YouTube. Share, comment, do all the awesome stuff. Spread the word. We're here Monday through Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Join the Discord as well. Also, if you want to support the channel and you want to do it while wearing some cool merch, you can do that as well. Again, thank you, Heat. Thank you, Michael Hatzer, for modding the chat. I appreciate all of you hanging out. As always, folks, please stay safe. Please take care of each other. I love you all, and I hope to see you guys in the next one tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. See ya! Hang tight, folks. Go show some support to Riverboat Jack, okay? We're heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bye-bye.